Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss The Last House on the Left from 2009, starring Tony Goldwyn, Monica Parter, Sarah Paxton, Martha McIsaac, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Spencer Treat Clark, Garrett Dillahunt, Michael Bowen, Josh Cox, Ricky Lindholm, and Aaron Paul, and directed by Dennis Iliadis? I don't know if I'm saying that right, please forgive me. So, I have seen this movie before in theaters and I haven't seen it since. What do I think of it now? Let's get into it. The movie begins with Krug in the back of the police car as he breaks out thanks to his team as they kill the cops and with either a gun or choking one out with a seatbelt, which was pretty damn brutal. Then we move on to Mary, played by Sarah Paxton, along with her parents, John, played by Tony Goldwyn, and Emma, played by Monica Potter, going to the last house on the left, as their cabin and some of their names are the same, while a few are different, which are kind of throwing me off. And my problem is with these characters are like in the original, unrelatable. As the time we see Mary as a swimmer on a high school team, and she's a pretty good and quick swimmer, which will be a good use later in the film. Mary takes the car and visits her friend in town, Paige, and we learn during that scene that she had a brother who died before the film ever started. Then we meet not Junior, but Justin, played by Spencer Treat Clark, who's the sunny boy on the team that broke Krug out in the opening scene, as he takes Paige and Mary to a motel room and smoke weed until Krug's Sadie, played by Ricky Lindholm, and Francis, played by Aaron Paul, come in and again are really unrelatable. As they beat up on Justin, and Paige tries to call for help but is unsuccessful as Francis smashes the cell phones and take Mary and Paige hostage and torture them and drive them on board the car which Mary drove earlier. As Mary tries to escape to the house she's staying at but is unsuccessful, and they crash the car, and these scenes are just horrible to watch. Paige takes a run for it and they torture Mary as they catch Paige for a chase that went on for a while, and she gets caught, cut, and raped. And the performance by the actress in that scene was absolutely horrible. While Justin doesn't want any part of it, which, this scene is painful. Painful! Mary escapes after the rape, while Justin grabs the necklace she had of her brother that was thrown to the ground, and Mary uses her swimming skills to get back to the house, but gets shot in the back, but they think she's dead, but spoiler alert, she makes it out alive, and Justin is disgusted by what they did to both Paige and Mary as they go to the house where Mary's parents are at, with John, who's a doctor in the original, and Emma, who treats them to hot chocolate. And the movie starts to kind of lose me when John puts stitches on Francis's nose, and I don't really usually like looking at stitches being put on a person. It's just the most painful thing I've ever seen in my life. Mary makes that out of the water as Justin is worried about her, thinking she's dead, and he feels guilty, and as he sees Mary is their daughter, and he decides to put the necklace next to the cup, telling them they hurt Mary and wanted nothing to do with it. And Emma and John will later find out, and what are the odds of that, as the script was way too convenient, just like in the original. But this is done 25 minutes longer than in the original. Mary gets to the house and makes the chair bang on the porch as John and Emma find Mary as she's alive, and they bring her to the house and get the bullet wound out of her. Emma finds out it was them who shot her as they get her some water to breathe like you see at the hospital. As Emma tells John the necklace was on her when she left the building, and they plan on retaliating against Krug and the crew, which is painfully acted, by the way. Justin wakes up and takes the gun away from Krug, and who's also awake, Francis, as Emma gives him a wine. As John grabs the keys to the boat for when they finish the bad guys off, Emma pours the wine in a glass and finishes it, and she grabs a different wine. As Francis tells Mary alive on the couch, or finds Mary alive on the couch, and Emma knocks his head out and stabs and fights him, and John comes in to kill Francis off. And can I just say this brutal violence is just as bad as in the original. I mean, Jesus Christ, it looked cheap. John and Emma go to the guest house and find Justin as he's innocent by giving John and Emma the gun to kill Krug's Sadie, and John shoots Sadie in the neck. And Krug jumps out the window and kills Sadie with a shot in the eye, which did feel pretty damn brutal. They go after Krug in the house, and Krug figures out Mary is their daughter, which took them long enough compared to the original. John and Krug have again another brutal battle, but it's more ludicrous than in the original, where he's using a chainsaw by the end of that 1972 movie. But this time they fight, and he knocks out Krug and strap him and kill him with his head in a microwave and let him die there with his brain exploding. And as a climax, it was ridiculous and ludicrous. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.2 out of 10. Worse than the original, with these characters being very unrelatable, as the movie was horrible to watch at times, and the brutal violence is ludicrous, as it was cheap looking, and the acting was just painful. I'll never go back to see this series ever again. So thank you guys for joining me for the series, and next week I will be back with another Wes Craven property, The Hills Have Eyes. And until next time, it's time to go.